I wasn't expecting company, but if you stay out of the shrubs and flower beds, you could stay.
Give 'em a wave, Pops, now that you've invited 'em in. We're two old guys who enjoy playing Sandbox and survival games together. I'm Uncle Craig. Go ahead and sit down. Let's visit for a while.
It has been 2 years, almost to the day, since my last upload of a Space Engineers video, and we have not played since. So I decided it was time to do a Going It Alone series on Space Engineers. At least my gaming community told me it was time. So I spent a little bit getting used to the updates to the game, getting familiar again with the controls and such, and here we go. I'm going to start off with using New Game, and from Sandbox, I'm going to choose the star system. We're going to customize that, first of all, in the naming. Call it Going It Alone. And I'm going to change my character's inventory size from 3 to 10. I want to reduce my running back and forth time. And we're going to click Start. Here we've got a lot of options, and I've done the different ones, and I could still do them again, but I'm just going to keep it simple. We're going to start with Earth-like drop pod. Recommend it for anybody playing for the first time. Click Respawn, and as soon as I come in, I'm going to press V and Alt scroll back and look around to see if I can spot any water. Looks like there's some off in that direction, the distance, but not much water at all around here. So, gonna make things a little more challenging. I like having some water around, some ice. I'm gonna scroll in. We'll do the inventory here in a minute. Look at that, we got nickel right there. Oh wow, and magnesium. If we have a smooth landing, we broke a landing gear. Well, it's all right. I'm gonna try something here. You notice 2 of the landing gear are not locked, and I really do want it to be somewhat of a stable position. So I'm going to go into the control panel, look at hidden things. We'll look at the landing gear. Here's the 3 that are remaining. And I really don't want them to be showing in the terminal all the time. So I'm going to toggle them on and off. And then I'm going to group them, pod, landing gear, so I can operate them all simultaneously. And then we'll turn this off. Select pod landing gear. And in the background here, if you watch, I'm going to unlock them. They're on auto lock, so they'll try to lock again shortly after I unlock them. But I'm going to unlock them. There we go. Right the ship. And looks like we only have 2. I'm going to try to get that 3rd one. We may not be able to, but I'm going to try. There we go. Aha! So they're all locked. Okay. So it's a little bit of an awkward position. Might not be too bad. But we're right near nickel and right near magnesium, so that's good. I'm going to press I for inventory and take the, what is this? The pistol, magazine, and the data pad. The data pad will have in it the GPS coordinates for that station and NPC stations. So we're going to click create GPS marker and OK. And here I'm going to go to the GPS tab. And there's the one selected. I'm going to say always visible and scroll it to the right. So it's always going to be on our display for now. That's all I'm going to do here, I guess. Let's press F to hop out. Press V to go into first person mode. And let's see if we can pick up that scrap. Unfortunate scrap. Now, we're going to be building off of this survival kit here. We're going to be building a lot of stuff, but we need components to do it. So I'm going to take out my grinder, pressing number 2. And we're going to very gingerly grind off the face on this side and 2 of the other sides. And if you look on the right, each of these blocks is made of steel plate. And so I'm just getting steel plates together and using those for some of the construction we're going to do here in a bit. We're going to frame things up first of all. And then also these lights, they're made of construction components. We really don't need the lights, so I'm going to carefully grind those off so I don't grind my battery. You might have noticed I'm in experimental mode. That's a habit of mine. I guess I didn't need to do that. That allows you to use mods in your game if you choose to. I'm not using any for this series, but that does allow you that opportunity. Okay, and then we'll get this side and the light out here. Okay, this light, and then I'm also going to be doing some grinding and such back here. Now, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grind on this landing gear. Now, if you grind down, I'm crouching down. If you grind down and then re-weld things, you can get new recipes. In this case, I've never constructed a landing gear, and so I've never gotten the recipes that would come from creating one, building one, welding one up. So now that it's non-functional, you see on the right there, I'll switch to my welder and use the left button to weld it all the way up. I want it all the way welded up so it's stronger than it would be otherwise. It's functional as soon as it's above the functional line, but I'm putting extra steel plate and stuff on it just to make sure that it is strong in case of some accident. Press C to stand up. And then I want to do a similar thing with items that are back behind the passenger seat. In fact, I'm going to take out the grinder. I don't need the passenger seat to be fully functional. Later on, I'm going to be using it, but we don't need it fully functional. So I'm going to grind most of the components out of it right to, be careful, right there. No lower, still functional. Back there, we've got some things we want to touch, but we can't get to them because of this second layer on the face of the pod. So I'm going to take some of these out. I don't need all of them out of the way. And that light, I don't need the light. Take those components. Do the same thing on this side. In the background, you see an unknown signal just popped up. I'll get to that here in a little bit. Now I want to get up here and do some grinding back there, but I can't see very well. So I'm going to make some adjustments to my suit. Right now I have my visor down. I don't need that because even though it's low oxygen, you can look down at the bottom of my screen, it says O2 low. There's enough that I should be able to be fine without my visor up. Without my visor up. That way I'm not, or with my visor down. That way I'm not using up oxygen. That's the whole point. With it down, I'm using up oxygen and energy. With it up, I'm not. So you can see I've got 74 oxygen left. That, of course, is 74%. Also, I don't need to be signaling out there my location because there's nobody else in the game. So that'll save a little bit of power. But I do want light. So I'm going to press L to put my helmet light on. Go up here. We're going to grind away first at this cargo container. You can see I've got that selected on the top right. Non-functional, welder, welded up, and I got new recipes, new blocks. Grinder, grind down this conveyor tube, just to non-functional, welder, welded up again, and I got other blocks, other recipes. Up there's a parachute hatch, but we are not going to drop out of the sky again and need the parachute, so we're just going to grind the hatch right off. And this timer block is for the timing the release of the parachute and such. We don't need that, so I'm going to grind that out.
Like, subscriber, get off my lawn.
Get the components from that. The rest of it I'm going to leave, and we're going to come back here, the side, and take a look at our H2O2 generator. You see it's got an H2 bottle and an oxygen bottle. If I have either of those in my suit, then when my suit runs out of either, it will be replenished. I don't need it for the oxygen necessarily, but I certainly do for the hydrogen because we're going to use our thrusters in our suit. And so we're going to have that. So when my suit does run out of, and you see it there, if it runs out, goes down to red, if you will, then the suit will automatically take the H2 out of the bottle and fill up my suit's hydrogen. If my bottle is empty, then I'm in real trouble because if I happen to be up in the air at that time, then I'm going to plummet to the ground. We're going to take a look at the survival kit when we get back, but for now I'm going to use the panel on the side here with it selected, and I'll hold F and get oxygen through that as well, and then I'm going to wait for my energy to be full, and then we're going to take a trip. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to run here a little bit, and you notice there we have nickel. We'll mark that later, and we're seeing that because the pod has an ore detector in it. But I'm going to take out my hand drill because my hand drill also has an ore detector in it, and I'm going to hold shift so I'm running across the surface of the ground, and anywhere that I run across ores that can be detected, it will show up on my HUD because I have the drill in my hand. This is a little slow for me. It's going to take me a long time to get there, and I've got a full tank of hydrogen as well as my suit's full of hydrogen. So I'm going to press X to use my jetpacks. Now I'm going to just kind of pulsate the W to go here for a couple of different reasons. One, I don't want to go full speed and run into something like the ground and die. The other is I find that the game handles the rendering of new blocks, new things better if you're not going full speed. And what I'm doing is watching for any type of ore that might pop up as we travel out to this drop pod, unknown signal. As I get closer, I guess it's over the other side of this mountain, but as I get closer, I'm going to kind of get a look at it best I can and then switch to my grinder, and we are going to grind down the pod for materials. But before I do, I'm going to remove what is in its cargo container, and I'm also going to push a button that should give me a chance of winning a prize. Boy, this thing is a little further off than I thought. There we go. Parachute's no longer there. This looks like one that might try to fly away, so I'm going to keep my jetpack on. Yes, it is. You see the thruster there. I'm going to try to hit that thruster. Oh, I missed it. Now, I don't think I'm going to get much from this one because of the fact that it's one that has a thruster on it. I just want to grind on it long enough that I get the thruster. I don't advise what I'm doing unless you're experienced at doing it, because you can easily die doing this. I'm probably not going to get much from this at all. I'm hoping to grind either the thruster, oh there it went, blew up, or something else. Stop it. Does it have anything left on it? That's the button. Turn off my jetpack here. That's the button still. Which one is it? Yep, that one. But I don't know. Yeah, the cargo container's gone. It's probably up there somewhere. So we'll just get the little bit that we can from it. It's unfortunate. Happens. Glad I didn't kill myself. Normally I try to dismantle these in a specific order too, each piece in a specific order. So I don't like to chase the pieces around like this. But we'll just deal with what we have this time. I'm going to crouch. Sometimes crouching gives you the ability to weld things when it seems like you can't reach them. Sometimes if you're crouched and it doesn't work, you can stand up and get the same result. Okay. Just see if there's anything left up here. Yeah, I don't see anything left up here. So, well, I'm going to switch to my drill again. I was hoping to get, let me look in my inventory. Yeah, hoping to get more, especially the small steel tubes, because we can't make those right now. And when there's a thruster, there's also a chance of getting a metal grid. We can't make those yet either, and we could use them. Now I'm going down the same route that I came up. You think, well, you just came through there. Why would there be something different there now this time? Well, sometimes I miss it, or the detection doesn't quite spot the ore when I come up. If I go back the same route, I can catch anything I might have missed. A lot of ice. Oop. There, I bounced on the ground, so why I like to take it easy, especially when I'm flying close to the surface like this. Now we do get a usefulness out of the ice. That's where we can generate, that's what we can generate our oxygen and hydrogen from in the H2O2 generator. Okay, we're back, and usually when I get back, I fill up my energy in my suit and oxygen and hydrogen, and then I'm going to come around here to the generator, O2H2 generator, and put my hydrogen bottle back in there. It loads it back up for me, and then put it back into my inventory. Now, if you notice, we've got ice in here. That's what it generates the O2 and the H2 from, so that's what we will be doing later on. We won't need that for quite a while. Okay, so we got the faces ground off, and this face right here, the survival kit, is where we're going to build a connector off of. So if I press G, well, if you look at my hotbar there at the bottom, you don't see a connector. If I press Control 2, I'll go to my second one. Still don't see one, but I can go to my toolbar config menu, and if I look up connector, it's here because I ground down and reconstructed the cargo container and the conveyor tube. I right-clicked it to put it down here. You can also double-click it. You can left drag it to get it down to a certain spot. But if you right-click or double-click, it will go to the first available spot on the hotbar. You'll see it's large grid. The ship is a small grid ship, so this can't be put on that way. But if I point at the ship, the pod, there it turns to a small grid. It recognizes it needs to be a small grid connector. And you notice on the one side it has the large square port. Same thing over there on the survival kit. So I'll match those up and left click. And now we've got it framed up. I'm going to press tilde to get rid of that. We're not going to weld it up right now. To give you an idea of what we're going to do, we're going to create a base on this side with a connector right here so that we can connect the pod to the base and use power generated by wind turbines to recharge the battery, which right now is below 3/4, and if it runs out, then our survival kit will stop, and then we're really in a bad place. So want to get some recharging going on this pod. The wind turbines can only be built on a large grid, so I can't snap the pod right to it, which is why we need the connector. What we're going to need on this other side is a large grid connector. Now, to get the base started, we're going to press 4 to get the block there that is obviously a small grid block, which is not what we want, but if I press 4 again to get a large grid, I also want to make sure we're not in 3 placement mode, but in gravity aligned placement mode. And then we're going to come right up to that connector. I'm going to stand over here actually, and I don't like the way that's looking, so I'm going to put it away, press 4 again, and I think that's going to get, better alignment. So I'm going to put this, it's red right now because it's too close to the ship. I'm going to use my mouse down so I get green and a little bit past that and drop the block right there. That's where our connector is going to be. You know what, I might be a little too close. I'm gonna grind that off, press 4, come back here and try that again. I'm going to back down a little bit further than I usually do because that connector is tipped forward. Yeah, that should be about right. Now I can't put the connector on that block. I have to put the connector on something behind the block. So we're going to put another armor block there and then press 2. And what I want is a cargo container. So we're going to press G, cargo, right click so it's on number 2, and we're going to place that right there. And then I'm going to press connector again, press 1, and put it on there on the container, and you can see that it's not pointed correctly. But if you look at the top right, it shows that if I press delete, it will rotate that in the right direction and line it up for me. But again, like I said, we're too close. You can see that. Oh, I've got to do a little bit of work here. Let's go to Control 1 again, get out my grinder, take these out, press 4. Try this again. There's red. I have to come down a little bit farther. I don't want to come too far away though. That should be far enough. Try this again. 2, 2, cargo container 1, and there we go. Okay. So now you can see they're really close to each other, so I won't have to move the pod very much at all. In fact, it might be if I power up the magnet on this connector enough, they may just lock right up. Okay, now on top of that container is where I want to eventually put the wind turbine. The wind turbines need to be about 8 blocks above the voxel in order to get maximum optimal production. And we also don't want them to be blocked by trees or other things. And you can see that any turbine I put up on this side needs to be 8 blocks above here. So I'm actually going to take it up 12 blocks, put a top turbine on top of that, and 1 block below that, extending out vertically or horizontally, I'm going to have 4 other turbines that we'll weld up later, but we'll have them there and ready for use. So we're going to press 4 on the first top bar, use my jetpack. I'm going to count that as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then right here, I'm going to put the 4 others extending this way. Oop, that is... Oh, I thought I missed. There we go. There we go. And those will all have enough clearance that they will work fine. I'm going to press 7. And I like the top, the twin blade turbine, just for the aesthetics on the top. And then I like to put these others, rotating the mouse wheel down. I like these for the ones that are horizontal. I just like the appearance of that. There we go. Okay, I'm going to drop down here. I can press X to turn off my thrusters so that I'm not using up the fuel to go down. Press tilde to get rid of that. There's our place. The turbine is going to produce power, and it will make that power available to anything that is connected to these blocks, including anything that's connected to this connector once we get everything welded up. So we first want to weld the turbine. Connectors don't really matter until the turbine's done. And I have some components in my inventory that might be used for that. So let's go back up there, take out my welder. We'll weld it up as far as we can, but we're going to need lots of motors. Now, you can see we need a lot of different components, and I really don't want to be going up and down to try to remember the recipe and loading and queuing up what needs to be produced. So we're going to use a couple tricks here. Let me show you the survival kit. If you look in here, it's got 2 rows of inventory. This top inventory is the items that it can use to, the ingots, I should say, the raw materials, to produce components, and the components it produces will be down here. Now, what does it need for that? Well, if you go to production, you can see that it can produce all these different components for me: equipment, tools, weapons, ammo. Over here on the left is ingots. You can see that the computers are going to take iron and silicon. Those are ingots. Well, the only way to produce ingots right now is to feed in stone. And we're going to be doing this a lot. So I'm going to queue up some stone to be produced, or some ingots to be produced. There's no stone in the system yet, so it won't matter. It's not going to produce them. But as I throw stone in, it will automatically start generating those ingots for us. So I'm going to not just left click, which would put 1 on the queue. I'm not just going to control click and put 10 on the queue. I'm not just going to shift click and put 100 on the queue. What I'm going to do is hit control shift and put 1,000 in the queue at a time, about 10,000. And that just makes sure that every time I throw in stone, if it can't create a component, it will at least be producing ingots so that it can produce components. So this just makes it so that the system will keep running for me. Now we need to put stone in to produce those components. Let me see what I have in my inventory now. I've got a few things in my inventory that I'm not using right now. The way I can put them into the system that I'm looking at, so the cargo container, the survival kit, the whole thing, is to hold down Alt and press middle mouse wheel. And it says only 1 component could not be deposited. Well, let's see what that is. That's the small steel tube. That's okay. We'll hang on to that. Everything else went into the system. And you can see 80 plates went right there into the survival kit. Now, when I pull things out for the things we're constructing, we don't want to keep going back and forth and queuing things up. So there's a way to deal with that too. Right now, it's not going to produce anything for me other than ingots. So what I want to do is queue up everything I'm going to need for that wind turbine. So we're going to come up here, and if I look at the wind turbine and right click, it says it added the components to the build planner. Where's the build planner? If I press G, in the bottom right corner is my build planner, and there's my wind turbine, and those are the remaining components needed for that wind turbine. Now if I come over here and I middle mouse click, it will give me what I need if it has it. Of course it doesn't. And so that's how I can get the materials without trying to remember which ones that I need.